Welcome to the $1 Million Career again, and welcome to my returning guest host, Craig Picken. How are you today, Craig?
Rob, I am well. Happy Sunday. What is happening today?
Good, man. First of all, Craig Picken is president of North Star Search Group, the #1 recruiter in aviation and aerospace. Welcome to the show again, Craig.
Love to be here. Thanks, Rob. It's always fun.
So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to get yourself fired. Okay.
I know those 3 ways.
I did a blog on this. I'm going to do a podcast. I got some funny stories, but I'm not going to bore you with a lot of funny stories today. So let's get rid of the obvious ones. Okay, the obvious ways to get yourself fired, we're not going to discuss because they're obvious. But let me just throw out a couple of them. 1, drinking on the job. Okay. 2, sleeping with the boss. 3, sleeping with the boss's wife or husband. Sleeping with anyone in the office. And lying, cheating, and stealing. Okay.
It is a new day when you have to say 3 ways to get yourself fired. Sleeping with the boss's wife. Yeah.
Anyways, I've got some personal stories about this, but I want to get your take on this, Craig, because I put a lot of thought on it. So basically, the 3 ways to get yourself fired are, in terms of my experiences, lack of extreme ownership over what you do.
Correct.
Number 2, the lone wolf syndrome, which I think you and I can safely say that we're a victim of this. Which is
yes, there's a reason. There's a reason I own a business.
Right, and then number 3 is the lack of continuous self-improvement.
Yep.
Not improving yourself. So let me throw out those 3, Craig. What do you think? I mean, any initial comments on that?
Yeah, no, look, I think you're right on. It's, look, there's always the usual stuff. Yeah, you're not productive. Yeah, did you see that? Yeah, I think did you see that thing where better.com laid off like 900 people via Zoom?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is that, we now live in this uber, quote unquote, empathetic society. And, I look at it and everybody just skewered the CEO of better.com. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to take the opposite side of that thing. He's got 900 people he laid off via Zoom because they're spread out all over the country. And the second thing is, I'll bet that they had statistics on how productive each one of those employees was. And they knew that of the 900 people that they were laying off, they were the least productive producers, customer service agents, and they even came out and said, we were monitoring these people. We knew who was declining calls. We knew who was. So I'm kind of like, look, lack of productivity is a good way to get yourself fired.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just collecting
and
a
that goes,
paycheck. Yeah.
And that goes along with the lack of extreme ownership, because if you're not accountable, and you don't set yourself benchmarks and metrics, then you're not going to perform.
Right. Look, and look, at the end of the day, it's this. If a business is laying off 10% of its people, it's not, and there's a lot of writing out there. Once again, we live in this uber empathetic world, but let's just cut to the chase. If you're a business and you have to lay off 10% of your people, you're not laying off your 10%. You're not laying off the top 10%. You're going through the organization and you're going, who can I afford? Who can I live without?
Yeah.
And the goal in life is to be a person that your business cannot live without.
Yeah, because, and how do they decide who goes and who stays? It's because the guy in the CFO suite is looking at measurables. And that's why part of extreme ownership is you've got to take ownership of your career, what you do. And when you're in your annual performance review, you've got to sit down and map out, here's what I think I can do, have it mutually agreed upon, document it, so that every quarter or every 6 months, whenever you do your review, it's black and white. Here's what I said I was going to do, and here's what I did. It's all measurable. Those are the guys that end up staying, you know?
Yep. And that's so the lack of productivity is the easiest way to get yourself fired.
Yeah. What about the lone wolf syndrome? We know what that is, right?
Poor teamwork.
The lone wolf, man. I don't know about you, Craig, but I'm going to raise my hand on this one. The lone wolf is, you know, hard to take direction from people. We have our own ideas on how to do things.
Yeah.
And I can be a team player, but I choose not to because it's who I am. I like to open up new pathways. I'm very creative. I like to change on the fly. I'm not good with a lot of hierarchy, you know, a lot of people that I have to go through to make a change. And that's okay, but you have to realize that, because if you're not a team player and you have a hard time, you know, dealing with a lot of people who are slowing you down all the time, there's a lot of process, a lot of red tape, HR, several layers of bosses. That's okay, but if once you realize that, you got to get out, man. You got to open up your own business, or you got to be a artist or a pianist or a sculptor or something different, because you're not going to survive in the corporate world. Because when the axe falls, the inevitable restructuring comes. They're going to be pointing at that guy over there. He's not a team player. He's off. He does his job and everything, but he's not a team player. You know.
Yeah. If you're walking on the left side of the road when everybody else is on the right, which is where I'm usually on the left side of the road.
Yeah.
Admittedly so. You're not going to last long in a team-oriented environment.
It was like my first job was with Arthur Anderson and Company, big 8 accounting firm down in Houston, Texas in the 1980s. And I remember it was a herd mentality. All of us dressed in blue suits, white starched button-down collars. Okay. I still wear the white shirt today all the time. Red tie.
Yep.
Black shiny shoes, not brown.
Right.
Black shiny shoes. And we went out to lunch. There would be like 9 or 10 of us, and we would basically take over a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it was like a pack of wolves.
Yep.
And I do remember there was a guy that didn't necessarily like to be part of the group, and he'd be off on the other side of the he'd be off on a different sidewalk, like walking parallel or something. And he was really good at what he did, but he just never made it. He wasn't part of the team. And you know, that was
classic IBM.
Yeah, IBM's the same way.
IBM and Ross Perot. When Ross Perot owned EDS, the dress code was for men gray pinstripe suits, black shoes, and a white shirt.
Yes.
Do not show up in a light blue shirt. Do not show up in it was a white shirt. You could differentiate yourself with your tie. And
but even the ties were alike. We used to always wear those striped military type of ties.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, and no, it was, and like with Anderson, it was the white shirt, but it had to be buttoned down because it was in Houston.
Yeah.
That's what people in the South wore,
But that comes back to the personal ownership. If you know you can't thrive, if that's just not you, and you can't thrive in that environment, don't go there.
Right. You got to get out.
You'll be miserable. The people that are going to hire you are going to be miserable. It's just ugly. It's ugly all day long.
Yeah. And then the third one, continuous improvement. This is a big one that I deal with in my insurance practice. Like a lot of account managers, particularly property casualty and employee benefits, there are certain certifications that are expected, and if you don't get the certifications, you're going to fall behind. I see this. There's a lot of consolidation in the insurance industry now, and the people that are staying, the people that are getting cut, a lot of it is based upon certifications.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. It's here's an interesting question. Talk to somebody on an interview. Just ask them straight out. What's the last book you read?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And most people go, and look, admittedly so, I'm not a big book reader. but I'm a huge consumer of information. Wall Street Journal, I read religiously.
Yeah.
You know, Inc. magazine, I read. Forbes magazine, I read. I am Reuters.
Yeah.
You know, I am a huge consumer of information. You know, now admittedly a book, maybe not, but what's the last thing you read? And if people
Yeah.
are like, well, I don't watch the news. Okay. And look, watching so much news is okay.
Yeah.
But understanding trends, understanding M&A, mergers and acquisitions, understanding, why businesses are pivoting in a certain way. That's important to growing a career.
Yeah.
And I think-
And the other thing is too, is because there's so much online out there. Like I subscribe to a service called the Great Courses.
Mhm.
And the Great Courses is an online, you pay like $15 a month, and it has courses on anything you could possibly think of. Everything from science to mathematics to culture, music, the arts, business, insurance, astronomy. I mean, anything you could possibly think of, exercise, nutrition. So, I mean, something like that is relatively inexpensive. It's on demand, and you can really round out your skills. Maybe not your experience, but your skills. Like maybe it's financial analytics, maybe it's effective communications, maybe it's storytelling, because a lot of persuasion and sales is storytelling, how to communicate with people. There's all kinds of courses out there, Toastmasters.
Yep.
So it's not just the certifications, obviously, but there's a lot of things that a lot of people can learn, and it doesn't take a lot of effort, and it's not expensive, and you can differentiate yourself.
There's a great story there's a great story. This goes back to the 80s, so now I'm showing my age a little bit. Going back to the 80s, and there was a stockbroker on Wall Street who was learning opera. And they said, why are you learning opera? Because he found out that by using his opera voice in the trading pit was getting him more business. He
Wow.
differentiated himself.
Wow, interesting.
So he was an opera fan. He was learning to sing opera, and he figured out how to take that opera to boost his business.
Wow.
It's like, you're crazy.
Well,
wow. Just a good story about personal improvement, right?
Yeah, effective communications is extremely important too. You could be the best guy in your company, but if you can't communicate, if you can't get up in a meeting and persuasively make your point, you're probably not going to get to the executive suite.
Yeah.
I'll say something more about books too. So I actually do read a lot of books, probably more than I should. And most of the kinds of books that I read are not what you would think. I love the great works of fiction, like Tolstoy, Hemingway. And the reason is because what you get from reading a book, particularly fiction, is you get what's called theory of mind. So theory of mind is really understanding how people think in different situations. So as you read these great books, and they're great books because they have great character development, they have great arc, and they have great stories. And by understanding these characters, how they interact with each other, you can learn a lot about the human condition, which really teaches you, how to critically think and make good decisions based upon how you think others are probably going to act, because it's already been played out in these great novels and plays. So
Steinbeck.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you who else I've been reading is C.S. Lewis.
Oh, C.S. Lewis.
Yeah,
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Well, but it goes beyond that. He writes a lot of books, and C.S. Lewis has got a very, he's a very Christian slant to how he writes. And I think, but take the Christianity part out of it. It's about interacting with people, and we're I just love the way in today's society his writings fit into a lot of how the personal element of the world operates. And I just you think about like what's happening in Ukraine, or he talks about a lot about good and evil, what's happening in Ukraine, right? And where evil lurks and things like that. But so I love the books, but I'll tell you one other place. So I've got my North Carolina Tar Heel hat on today, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of March Madness. I'm a consumer of March Madness. And the other day, the University of Kentucky who had a great season, was knocked out in the first round of March Madness by a no-name team.
Yep,
You
I
know,
saw the
they were-
game.
So St. Peter's beats Kentucky, and all of a sudden, in one game, an entire season of Kentucky is wiped out.
Yeah,
Irrelevant. Entire great season
I know.
was just recorded. It was just sent off into the vast wasteland because they lost one game. And I was talking to my wife or my daughter this morning. And I was like, you think about that in your career. One angry tweet, one angry reply all email.
Right.
You get captured on video berating the customer service agent at at an airport, or whatever.
Yeah,
You're done.
yeah, exactly.
You're done. It's all over the internet. Your name is mud. Your entire career just got wiped out because of one dumb thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I think about the easiest way to get fired is don't be human. I mean, when I say don't be human, what I mean is, be human, be human in that, if you have a beef with a customer service agent, you handle it in a professional manner. The angry tweet that you really want to send out,
Yeah.
type it
Maybe
up and hit delete.
Maybe we should
think
call
about
it
things.
avoiding the one big stupid thing,
The one big stupid thing.
That's is it Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger always talks about that? If you can just avoid doing stupid things, then you don't necessarily have to do great things.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense, actually. If you think about it, if you could have avoided all the stupid things that we've done in our lives and just kind of go with the flow, you could be pretty successful.
Look, nothing productive ever got done in an email conversation. Nothing productive ever got done on Twitter where 140 characters. You speak your mind in 140 characters, whatever it is. Nothing ever got done there. You never got on the airplane because you decided to be a jerk to the customer service agent.
Exactly.
And you never got better service by being a jerk to the flight attendant. I mean, that's just it. You think about it, you go, be human, treat people the way you want to be treated. And your life is a whole lot easier. But yes, eliminating the one dumb thing is a whole lot better than doing 1,000 things marvelously, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to close out with this one story. I was going to save it for the podcast, but it's a golf story. Okay. I know you like golf. So it's probably going back about 15 years. I'm on a golf course. I'm with the CEO of a company, and the other two guys are sales guys. Okay. Highly respected sales guy. We're out playing, and we're playing in the middle of the summer. And I start to notice that this one sales guy, I'm going to call him James. Okay. I'm not going to mention his real name. That this guy, James, is like, I notice him moving his ball around, moving into a favorable lie. And we had said we're going to play summer rules. In other words, the ball hits the ground, that's where you hit it from. But he's knocking it around. Didn't really think too much of it. Like the 6th or 7th hole, I see him knock the ball out of the sand trap, hoping that we didn't see him. And now I'm thinking, I don't know, this guy's basically cheating, Now, on top of this, we're playing for a lot of money. I think we're paying for like $20 a hole or something. Back then, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm with the CEO in the golf cart. So the CEO starts to notice the same thing. He's like, am I seeing what you're seeing? And I didn't want to cause any dramas. So I said, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really see anything. Well, I had a pair of binoculars in my golf bag. I take him out, and I'm keeping an eye on this guy because he's across the fairway in some trees, and there he is. He's knocking the ball around again. Didn't think too much of it until I start noticing, because I've had this habit of always keeping track of everyone else's score. Like he's hitting 4, he's hitting 5, 6, whatever. And I'm noticing because the scorecard is on my wheel in the golf cart. The guy would come over and say, "Hey, Rob, I'll take a 6, or I'll take a 3, or I'll take a 4. And both the CEO and I are realizing now that this guy is like trimming off a stroke. Because we're like, he definitely had a 6 in that hole, and and as we're walking the next one, I'll take a 5, Rob.
Mhm.
And we're like, I mean, the CEO was getting a little bit aggravated, right? But wasn't a big deal. We're on the 17th hole.
Mhm.
And the 17th hole has an elevated green. And there's a bunch of trees on the east side of the hole. And there's a gully that goes down where the sales guy hits his ball in the gully. So we're up on the green now. Okay. And all of a sudden, without any notice, I see the ball coming over the trees, and it hits the green, and it bounces to within 3 feet of the hole.
Mhm.
Sales guy comes up, James. He's got a big grin on his face. We're all like 2 or 3 putting. He taps it in for a par. We go to the 18th hole. We play it out. And as I'm walking along, I said to the CEO, that was kind of a strange shot. I didn't hear a club hit the ball. And the way the ball hit the green, it didn't really have any spin on it. It just hit and just rolled towards the hole, But I'm thinking, no, there's no way, that guy could have thrown the ball.
Yep.
And we're walking to the clubhouse, and a guy in the foursome behind us comes up to us and says, "Hey, were you guys playing with that guy with the blue shirt?" And we said, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't know if you really want to know this or not, but that guy threw that ball over the trees." I said, "You got to be kidding me." The CEO was pissed, because we were playing for like probably 300 or 400 hours.
But it's a character thing. It's a character thing.
Right. So here's what happens,
you want to learn
right?
somebody's character, go play golf with them.
So we walk up to the clubhouse, and we're putting our clubs. We haven't said anything to this guy. We're at the bar. CEO turns around. The sales guy, James, is sitting next to him on the left. I'm sitting next to the CEO on the right. CEO just out of nowhere says, "Hey, James, let me ask you something. Are you comfortable with that score that you submitted at the end? Because, you won a lot of money." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'm just asking you. I mean, was that a legitimate score? Are you happy with the way you played? I'm just curious, And the guy says, yeah. And the guy slaps the CEO in the back and says, "What are you, a sore loser, man?" And he says, I took your money," just kind of joking around with him. "I took all your money." CEO didn't say anything, right? I get a call on Monday afternoon from the CEO. He says, "Hey, Rob." I said, "What, man?" He says, "I fired James." No kidding. Yeah. He says, I thought about it, slept on it, talked to a few of the other executives. We had to get rid of him. He says, because he could no longer be trusted. It was a character flaw. So that's my lying, cheating, and stealing story.
If he cheats
True
in
story,
golf,
man.
if he cheats in golf with the CEO, he's probably cheating on his expense account.
Yeah.
What else is he padding, right? That's a character thing.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
the whole thing about golf. If you're going to go play golf for money, it's, I don't care if it's $1 a hole.
Yeah.
It makes it real, and that's the whole deal. Even if it's just even if it's just chump change, it becomes you don't cheat at golf when you're playing with business, playing golf with business people, you don't cheat at golf. And that's
Absolutely.
it.
So anyway,
fantastic.
so that's it. So lack of ownership, the lone wolf syndrome, lack of continuous self-improvement. Anything we want to add to that list?
I think it comes down to
Productivity?
integrity, productivity, and keep your emotions in check.
Good.
It's like
Good.
avoid the one stupid thing.
Good, man. So the next one we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks, 3 things, 3 ways to get that big promotion.
I love that.
3 ways, man. I got 3 good ones for you, Craig.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Right, man. Hey, so how do people get a hold of Craig Picken anyway?
You can just call me up at 910-509-7129 at the office, or Craig, Craig, at northstaresg.com.
You're on LinkedIn too, right?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on Twitter. Yeah, I guess I am on Twitter, but I don't tweet.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Be careful, man. Be careful. 140 characters. Craig.
It's 140 characters of anger. I mean, nothing.
Be careful. Man.
There you go. So,
all right, Craig. We'll see you
thanks,
next week.
Rob. I enjoyed it as always.
Yeah, man. Thanks. And everybody can get a hold of me at rob@mrfairfax.com. Thank you very much. And we'll see you in a week or so. Thanks, man.